Hi, I'm Alyssa Dineen of Style My Profile, and this is my podcast, The Dating Lab. I want the Dating Lab to be a place that you can come to get tactical and practical advice on all things modern dating. I'm going to have some awesome guests to teach us even more, and I want to share client success stories to encourage you, as well as share other client stories that can help validate you and your experience, and hopefully help you on your dating journey. So enjoy and like and comment below. Okay, so welcome back to the Dating Lab. I'm Alyssa Dineen of Style My Profile, and I'm super excited for our third episode. I have two of my favorite people, but also two of my coaches that are on my team of Style My Profile, Max Nussenbaum and Katherine Paulsen. And we're going to have a fabulous conversation about our experiences working with clients in the dating space. So Max he's a Style My Profile coach, primarily working with clients on their bios and prompts, but he also works as a ghostwriter for corporate execs, which is really interesting. And he said there's a lot of crossover there. So maybe he can tell us a little bit about that. And then Katherine is, again, a Style My Profile coach and also our creative producer for Style My Profile. So thanks, guys, for joining me today and chatting about dating. How are you guys?
Amazing.
Yeah, great to be here.
Good.
We're giving people a peek behind the curtain.
I know. And also everybody should know that we actually hardly ever get together in person or even as a group. I feel like we meet separately. We've actually only met in real life one time. Is that right?
The three of us together, but like we all had so many different one-on-ones.
Yes, I think of it like, Penn and Teller say that they only socialize outside of work like once a year. So we're kind of on that same train.
Right. I always say, like, once Style My Profile really hits it big, we'll have a corporate retreat with the three of us.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And in classic corporate retreat style, one of us will have to get too drunk and embarrass themselves, but who knows who it will be.
Yeah, it could be any one of us.
Short straw.
It could be any one of us. But the important part is we'll be together and we'll be in somewhere really cool, like an island somewhere. Okay, so first, Max, I want you to tell us. So Max is now actually married. We actually just learned that. We know he's had his partner for several years. How long ago did you guys meet?
We met just about maybe 2 years ago. So not that long.
Okay.
But, it's different when you meet your partner like in your 30s or later. Like, I think things just move a lot faster.
Right, exactly. So tell us how you guys met.
So my wife, Alex, and I met on Bumble. We are actually each other's only true app relationship. I think we've both been on, hundreds of app first and second dates. And I've had a couple, I guess you'd call them flings with people from apps. But all my other serious relationships were from people I had met in real life. And I think that, this is kind of a funny thing to say on a podcast for a dating coach who does a lot of app-based dating. But I do think that the date is like a very unnatural and in some ways difficult structure to meet people or to really get to know people. And I think a big part of I'll take a step back and I'll say I met Alex when I was 34 and had been on hundreds of dates. And I do not think it was just that it took me, I started dating girls when I was 14. So did it take me 20 years to meet the right person? And did I have to go through hundreds of people to find the right one? No, not entirely. I'm sure that was part of it, but I also think part of it was just about me. It's like that saying goes if you meet one person and they're an asshole, they're an asshole. But if everyone you meet is an asshole, you're the asshole.
Yeah.
And I think a big part of what ultimately enabled me to not necessarily meet Alex, but actually end up with her was a mindset shift for myself where I got myself in the right place through a lot of trial and error and a lot of bad dating and a lot of messy experiences where I was able to actually recognize what was right for me or potentially right for me and give it the space to breathe to actually find that out. And I think if I had met Alex at a different time in my life, then maybe there wouldn't have been a second date. And I think a big part of how I got there was having some relationships with people I met in real life that ultimately didn't work out, but were still very positive relationships and realizing you know what, if I had met this person on a Hinge date, maybe we wouldn't have liked each other on that first date or wouldn't have felt a connection because of like the unnatural world of dating. But because we met in real life where there was an opportunity to get to know each other outside of this sort of forced context of evaluating this person, there was the space for something to grow.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, that's so true. I feel like I always talk about that with my dating experience. I feel like none of the dates were wasted. Like none of the dating experience I had was wasted because I learned something from literally every single date, bad date, good date, mediocre date. Every single one led to meeting Yoav. So yeah, I'm glad you said that. That's so cool. So now they're married and they have a baby.
Yes, we have a 9-month-old and we've been married for a year. So you guys could do the math. We actually just celebrated our 1-year anniversary a couple days ago.
Yeah, I love it. Congratulations. That's such a great story. Wait, so actually, I want to know, so you met on Hinge, you met from Hinge.
From Bumble.
Oh, Bumble. Okay,
But,
sorry.
So same thing.
I want to know the steps. So when you matched, how long did you guys message for? How long did you wait to ask her out? Or did she ask you out? Tell us the deets.
I don't remember who asked who out, but I'm pretty sure it was me. We messaged for, I don't know, a dozen messages over the course of 30 minutes. And then I'm a very big believer in like, you got to meet someone quickly. You can't really get to know someone you can get to know someone over texting once you've already met them, but I don't think you can when you haven't met them. And I've certainly had the experience of, I've certainly had the experience of getting totally infatuated with someone over text. And then I really believe that it should be universally acceptable etiquette for a first date from an app that within the first like 3 minutes, either party can just be like, oh, shoot, like, no thanks, like, sorry. Like, because sometimes you just meet someone and instantly just like, they smell weird or like their face doesn't look the same from like a side view and you only saw the front view in the app or something else like that. So yeah, we met pretty quickly after that first match. Okay. But then it was definitely a slow burn at first for the dating continuing, over that second, third, fourth date.
Okay, great. I mean, Katherine, it's literally what we prescribe for all of our dating. Yeah.
That's the thing. But wait, yeah. So Max, then like first date was like normal, positive, like neutral, negative, like.
Yeah.
It was positive, but definitely nowhere near the quote unquote best first date I've ever had. And I think one thing I've learned over the past, I don't know, the 6 years, let's say, that I was single in between my last relationship and meeting Alex, or the 5 years, is that I don't think this is true for everyone, but for me, if a first date is too amazing, that's actually kind of a red flag. It means that either I'm building up an image of this person in my mind that isn't actually going to match reality, or that this person is really great at sort of creating like one magical night, which doesn't necessarily pattern match with being great in a relationship, or perhaps that like me and this person have mirrored each other's temporary mania, which is something that like I can be very prone to. I don't think that's true for everyone. I have a friend who really had like a love at first sight experience and is married to that person. But I know for me, it's actually not a good sign if the first date was like too good.
Yes. I couldn't.
This is so much of what we've been talking about recently.
Everything. And that's, Katherine, your and my story too with our partners. It's like it was a slow burn. And I'm not just like you said, I do know of the I would say probably 1 in 30 couples that I know that maybe it was love at first sight. Kate Anthony, actually, who we interviewed on the last podcast, was one of them. But it's rare. And I think people think because of, our culture and also, like the rom-com culture and Disney culture, that's the way it's supposed to be. And it's so not the way it is in reality for the most part. So then what was the date when you were like, okay, this is it? Like now we're definitely going to be together.
So, well, and just to jump on your last point, I'll say I think one of the big changes that I've gone through over the past few years that led me to be able to be in this relationship was getting much better at separating the things I'm instantly attracted to when I first meet someone from the things that actually make for like a sustainable, positive relationship. And for me, those things had some overlap, but also a very large amount of like negative overlap. So yeah, a couple things happened. Well, it's kind of funny. On our first date, we actually talked a lot about like our dating history and philosophies, which I think is a thing that happens a lot when you're like in your mid 30s and still single and still going on dates. And I talked about how one thing I had been doing was sort of trying to, because I think first dates, it's so difficult to actually get to know someone because you're in this like evaluative mode. I've been trying to reframe first dates to just thinking, do I want to see this person one more time? And like, unless the date was really horrible, then I probably did. And so then having said that to Alex, I was like, well, God, now I can't not want to have a second date because that would come across as so offensive after just telling her how low the bar was for a second date. And she later told me that she actively didn't like me on our first date, but that she had just been on a string of dates where she was really bored. And so she felt like, well, at least I wasn't bored. Like I should see what's
Oh my
there.
God. Okay. I love
Um,
that. I love that too. This is what people need to hear that like it is not so not love at first sight. Like it is in every way, you know.
Definitely.
Love
And
that.
then I think there were two sort of big things that, or not even big things, two small things that led to things ramping up over the next couple dates. One was that there was like a 2 to 3 week gap in between our first and second date and our second and third date, just because of a bunch of crazy scheduling stuff that was going on. I had to travel, I was changing jobs, she had a work trip, my grandmother died the morning of our second date, just like all this crazy stuff.
Oh boy.
So it's fine. She was 93. She had a good life.
Yeah.
It was
Okay.
fine. But I was
Okay.
not, I'd like sat by her bedside and watched her die. And then I was like, well, I can't go on a date tonight. Like that's a crazy context shift.
Oh my.
And I just think I've been in this situation a lot where like you had a good first date. Both people have to reschedule the second date a bunch of times. It's genuine. You're not making excuses, but just like 9 times out of 10, it just fades away and the second date never happens. And
It
the
loses
fact
momentum.
it
Yeah.
loses momentum. And I felt like the fact that that sort of situation happened both between our first and third dates, and the fact that the dates still happened, I felt like it both spoke to something about who Alex was as a person, but also I was sort of reading my own revealed preference where I was like, well, if you asked me how that date was, I probably would have just said it was pretty good. But the fact that I am actually like putting in the work to make sure this gets rescheduled and that she's meeting me there says something about what's going on. Then the second thing that I remember was I was on a trip. I went to a friend's wedding in Santa Fe, and I took a couple extra days with some other friends that were going to the wedding just to explore Santa Fe. And when I was out there, it was, I think, in between our second and third date, or maybe after our third date. And I remember sort of having this impulse that I just wanted to get Alex a little gift. And I've had that impulse with other women I've been dating in similar stages. And I always sort of spiraled where I was like, I don't want her to think I'm coming on too strong with this gift. I also don't want her to read too much into it. It doesn't mean I like want to, officially date now, but I also don't want to
Right.
like say all that when I give her the gift because that sounds presumptuous. And I would just be like,
Mhm.
oh, there's no good way to do this. Forget it. And I just had this very strong intuitive sense that like Alex would also see it for what it was, which was just like a cute little thing that said, I was thinking about her on this trip and it didn't necessarily mean anything more than that. And who knows where the relationship would go, but it was still like a nice thing. And I just
Mhm.
felt very strongly that she would get it and I didn't have to like worry about how it was going to come across or trying to explain myself.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, you went with your gut.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And did she like the gift? I'm curious. What was her reaction?
Yeah, she liked it. I honestly don't even remember. It was because it was just about how I felt in the moment of buying it. It wasn't even
Yeah,
about
yeah,
how she
right.
reacted. I'm sure she liked it fine.
Yeah, yeah. Got it. Okay, I love all of that. That's so
I
great.
feel like I can think of so many people I've early dated where like it was, the like love at first sight, like, oh my gosh, I like this person so much. And if I were to think about getting them a gift after 3 dates, I like it would be like immediate no. Like they would think so many things, they would read into everything because I wasn't secure in any sort of reciprocity or like level setting or just like general chillness. And that is so much more available when it's like a person who you get along with, but it's not like this, oh my God, I'm so obsessed with them kind of feeling.
Yeah, I mean, it's
More
almost
stable.
funny. It feels sort of inappropriate to apply attachment styles this early on, but I feel like Alex and I were like securely attached after 3 dates in the sense of not being that attached and being on the same page and feeling very secure in it, which is like its
Right,
own
right.
thing.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That is its own thing for sure. Yeah. Yeah, I think that so much of dating is doubting yourself. Like instead of trusting your own instincts or trusting your gut or, whether it be about, ignoring red flags or ignoring green flags or, like whatever it is, I feel like so many of us second guess ourselves, don't trust our gut, don't trust our instincts. And so much of it, if we did, I think would be like, you buying that gift for Alex. You just went with it. Anyway, that's great.
Yeah, and I think the big lesson for me was that like in other, early dating experiences where I, maybe had that impulse and didn't get the thing gift, like Catherine was saying, my impulse that if I had gotten the gift, it might not have gone well, might have been right, but it still would have been good to lean into that because that it not going well would be telling me something important rather than,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I guess that's what I'm saying is that because if you're going with your own instincts and for example, the gift is actually a perfect example, and she had a weird reaction to it, then she probably wouldn't have been right for you, and that gives you information that you need early on. I just had this conversation with a client yesterday, actually. She had this, several dates with this guy. It was seemingly going great. And then he kind of fell off the face of the earth, as sort of that does happen. And she was asking me, should I send this text to him, asking kind of like, hey, I thought we really had a connection, asking him kind of where he stands. Like, are we still like, what's happening? And she was like, oh, I don't know. I hate doing this. I never do this. I never do this. And I'm like, do it. Because if he's not right for you, wouldn't you rather just know right now? And rather than be thinking about it for the next 2 weeks, whether he's going to contact you still. So anyway, I think it's so good to just go again, trust your instincts, go with it. And if it's not the right person, that's going to be good information right away.
100%. I mean, another one of the huge mindset shifts I went through over my, whatever, 15 years of dating as an adult is that I think when I started out, I I wouldn't have articulated this consciously, but I think on some level I viewed dating as a game and you got the most points if you just got the most people to be attracted to you. And I got pretty good at that game. I mean, that sounds like an asshole, but over,
No,
15 years,
no.
you get
I
you
think
get
that's
pretty
normal. I think a
yeah,
lot of
I
us
got
do that. Yeah.
yeah, so I got pretty good at that game. And then you sort of wake up and realize, okay, that's not actually how it works. And there's the hugely important piece of asking myself, do I even like this person? Are,
Yeah.
are we right for each other?
Yeah. There's
I,
actually
I
no
mean, it
point to
was,
that game.
I mean, another big one for me is that I, maybe a few months before I met Alex, I decided that I was going to stop sleeping with people on the first or second date. And it had been something where I was always like, I always previously had sort of thought that kind of rule was stupid. I was like, I don't know, like I have a pretty casual approach to sex. Like, I don't know that I would be right for someone who really like wants to wait. But the thing I realized was that it took me a long time to realize was that like if I slept with someone too soon, I actually had trouble figuring out how much I liked them. Right. Like
Mhm.
I would be, sitting in bed with someone and a part of me would feel like this doesn't feel right. And it would be like, is that because this person isn't right for me? Or is it just because like we've jumped to a level of intimacy that I wasn't quite ready for with them? And realizing that it was like, that it was about it, yeah, that just like I was getting my own emotions mixed up by doing that was something that took
Yeah.
me a long time
Yeah.
to figure out.
Yeah. That's so helpful for people to hear too, that men feel the same way that women do when it comes to intimacy. I think it's accelerate it to, a point where it's too soon, for your emotions to feel that intimate with somebody. I fully agree. I know, and I think we all go through that phase where we're like, oh, I'm chill about it. It's like no big deal. Like I want it too. So whatever, no big deal. But it does give you a false sense of like, yeah, that question of do I actually like this person or did I just like the sex? Or did I like this person? Or am I just feeling like I should because of the intimacy. So yeah, love all of that. So good. Okay, Catherine, your turn.
My God. I actually just like wrote some notes about stuff Max was saying. So I want to come back to it because it was so good.
I know, I know. Well, we can go to it now if you want to. Yeah, if there's anything you want to talk about that first.
Well, it actually, I guess it kind of goes in chronological order of meet. I got married like 3 weeks ago. Alyssa was there. And so the order of meeting my husband started with the person that I was seeing before him, who was someone who, like, after the first date, I was like, oh my gosh, I have all of this like fear in how much I like this person because I think he's like so cool and kind of unattainable. And it was like this sort of puppy love crush of like, I hope he likes me. I hope he likes me. And he was who I was thinking of, like, I would never get this person a gift because he would think I was insane. And I had so much like stuck in myself with how he thought of me and everything.
She's obsessed with me.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
And that just like gave away all of my own power and confidence in the relationship. Like I just was looking to him the whole time to see, like, does he want to see me again? And not like, I get to choose if I want to see him again. He should wonder if I want to see him again.
Yeah.
And it just created like such a bizarre dynamic. And oh, here's my husband, actually. Brian, do you want to just pop in and say hi?
Oh,
Yeah.
sure. How's it going?
Hi.
Hi, Ryan.
Hey, how are you?
Congratulations.
Thank you so
Congratulations.
much. Oh,
I was
we're
just
in
gonna
cloud
say to
nine.
I was just gonna say to Catherine, how isn't it weird still to say my husband and my wife? Is
I
it
have not adjusted
I was
up.
Oh,
gonna say when I heard you just say my husband, I was like, wait, where? Yeah.
Who's that?
to this day, whenever I say my wife, I hear it in the Borat voice in the back of my head.
Obviously, yes, yes. Oh, I gotta use that more then.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll haunt
Right.
us.
It's very unnatural.
Yeah. Anyway,
That's
thanks
great.
for saying hi.
Brian,
Of course.
thanks for the cameo.
Anytime.
But anyway, so I was still seeing this guy. Brian obviously knows about this.
So this is all.
Imagine being like, wait, what?
When a mutual friend of mine and Brian's reached out to both of us and was like, I just really think you would hit it off. I don't normally do this, but she was a former work friend of mine, a current work friend of Brian's. And she was like, everything you guys keep saying to me, the other has said to me too. Like, you just saw this show, you like this band, you have this type of sense of humor, you're interested in these things. And so she set me up with Brian, and it was a slow burn, which I'll get to. But ultimately, Brian was the answer. And so I ended things with other like infatuated guy and managed to still parlay a friendship out of it, which is kind of my MO in dating. Max, you are also a recipient of that. We met originally.
Oh yeah, we didn't
online
mention
dating.
that, but actually,
I
Max,
was wondering if we were going to get into that.
yeah, I know.
mean,
I
of
didn't know if
course.
Catherine wanted to mention it, but yeah, we know Max because Catherine went on it one date, 2 dates. How did you?
A few,
No,
like
at
four or
least I
five,
think 4 or 5.
six.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
cool. Okay.
Anyway, so I now am friends with this guy to this day, and he now has a really significant partner. And we were talking recently about like what he loves about her and what made him realize that she was the one for him. And he was like, she just was always so communicative with me, so confident in liking me and in expressing that and in saying what she needed back from me and what, her requirements were. And I was like, oh my God. I mean, thank God I hadn't done that because I wound up with Brian. But like, yeah, had I just been more of a secure person in myself
Mm-hmm.
rather than like looking to this other person for all of the approval and affirmation, like that could have become a real relationship. And how,
Yeah.
how funny it is the way that things wind up working out or don't work out. But yes, anyway, so I went on a first date with Brian. And similarly, Max, it was like a nice little time. Like we totally got along. I kind of was like, I think I could probably be friends with this person. I don't know if I am super attracted to this person, but yeah, we have a lot in common and okay. sure, I'll go on another date. And I just kind of kept saying like, yeah, sure, I'll go on another date. Like he hasn't done anything offensive, you know. He seems like a very nice person. My heart is a little bit elsewhere with this other guy, but sure, you know, I'll like keep seeing the nice guy even if I think that he might not be quite exciting enough for me or like funny, edgy enough for me. And it literally took until our fifth date. Alyssa and I have talked about this so many times, but on our fifth date, he finally was his actual normal self, who is all of those exciting and fun and edgy and silly and funny things. But like early dating is so manufactured and weird. He's trying to, you know, put on his best behavior and trying to mirror what I'm doing and trying to not freak me out by overstepping. And so he was like such a
Mm-hmm.
muted version of himself. And it just took building
Mm-hmm.
up that trust and shared language to be able to be like, oh, wait, no, you're exactly what I'm looking for.
I just want to point out, I like how you said a muted version of himself, because I think that that's what a lot of people do. You're so busy trying to just be polite or agreeable or not too much, or, you know, and I think a lot of people do that on at least the first few dates. Definitely for first two or three, you know. So
Going on multiple dates is essential, I think, as long as they're not like an actively bad or rude person. Like,
yeah,
It is
yeah.
such a paradox. I'm curious for both of your takes on this because like I both feel like it's like it is true. It takes a couple dates to like really see the someone's true self. And that's I think often why it's like people have an easier time when a relationship develops with someone you already know in real life because absent that
Yeah.
dating context, the true self is revealed earlier. At the same time, like you can't just go on multiple dates with everyone until their true self is revealed. And like you have to do some level of filtering. And I feel like I still feel like I don't totally have a good answer for like how do you know who to keep going with other than just
Well,
like you got to try to
yeah.
figure it out.
No, that I'm actually glad you mentioned that, because that's what I get asked a lot with my clients that I'm coaching is, well, when do I stop going on on the dates? Like, when do I call it, call it and say, okay, this isn't working. And generally, I mean, I think you would know by 5 to 6 dates. Catherine, I know mine was 4, and
mhm.
Max, it sounds like yours was 4-ish.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it was. I
Yeah.
mean, we was it was like I describe it as like a slow burn, and until it moved very slow at first and then very fast.
And
So I
that
would
was,
say it was probably 3 to 4 dates to have a feeling of like, oh hey, this is kind of working, and then by 6 or 7, it was like, oh, we're in love and we're officially in a relationship.
yeah, 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 for sure.
That's
Yeah.
like what it was for me too, basically.
Yeah. And I think what I tell clients is, if the person is still someone that you're looking forward to seeing them, it's like, obviously, like I've had clients say like, okay, well, I'm going out with that guy again because, you told me I need to. And I'm like, no, 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 no. If you're dreading going out with the person, that is not, that is a no. It's if you're looking forward to seeing the person just as a human being, you're maybe not like super attracted to them yet, but you like them as a person, like you could see becoming friends with them. Those are the signs to keep going. Yeah. I mean, I haven't heard it developing after 5 dates. Like, I think at some point you do need to say, okay, maybe we're just friends. But I think it is. To your point, Max, I know it sounds like a lot. I'm sure you had a lot more dates than, people in their, 50s and 60s do. So I think, it's probably harder at your age, but, I think it's worth it. Like, listen, if it's going to be your life partner, isn't it worth going on 5 dates to see? You know? Uh,
Well, and I think that speaks to something really important, which is that it actually, and people have talked about this a lot with online dating, that just like having too many options can actually be a bad thing. I
mhm.
think of so many times in my dating life where it was like, I had an okay date with someone, but it was just like there was always that person who seemed even cooler, like around the corner. So why would I go on 4 more dates with this person to see what would develop there when just, there were like 8 bajillion, hot other women in New York I could be going out with. And like, in but actually it's like you don't actually learn anything or you don't learn that much from just cycling through people one date at a time.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Okay. Yeah. So, and then Catherine, once you got to date 5, you were like, this is it.
I was like, this is the hottest person I've ever seen. I'm in love with him. I mean, no, that took a little bit of time, but yeah, it was so obvious of like what a compliment he was to me once he had like just come out of his shell more,
Mhm.
and I'd given him the space to do that and encouraged that. Like I was an active participant in that. Like I was communicating with him and I was showing up, and trying to like model the sense of humor that I have. Like I wasn't letting him just take the reins and be boring. Like, you know, it,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it wasn't only evaluative, it was also, exemplary. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's important too.
And one thing that I actually, and I don't know if either of you can even answer this. I mean, I think it's different for everybody, but I get asked this quite a bit too is, okay, so I've been going out with this person for, 2, 3, 4, 5 dates. At what point are they thinking, what are we doing? Like, what do I say? Kind of thing. And I'm like, I don't know, it just happened organically with Yoav and I where, he just wasn't pushing me. He wasn't pushing me, physically, in any, obviously in any way, but like there wasn't this pressure like, oh my God, we haven't slept together yet kind of thing. It was just, we're just going out and getting to know each other. And I think that's maybe important. Like it's an important distinction that if you are feeling pressured by somebody, then I think that's probably not your person,
Yeah. Well, and
right?
also I had a lot of like check-ins with Brian at the beginning of things. I think, in fact, on the heels of this relationship with this other guy where I felt so insecure all the time, dating someone who I didn't like as much in the same like high key way made me realize like, oh, actually, I can just sit here and have a face-to-face conversation about, hey, okay, let's check in. How are you feeling about this? Here's how I'm feeling. I'm not ready to make plans with you that are 2 months out. That feels like a big commitment. And I'm really liking where this is going, but like, I need you to know that that's how I'm seeing things right now. And Brian has told this story a million times that we had one check in about that, and it like blew his mind that you were actually allowed to openly talk about that in an early relationship in a
Yeah.
casual, low
Well,
pressure way.
I mean, even I'm surprised because I feel like a lot of people don't feel comfortable doing that. Max, is that your experience?
I had a very similar learning. I don't know. I don't remember quite when it happened. It was definitely before I met Alex, but it just realizing that like it was okay and in fact often a good idea to just like talk about your relationship even before it was an actual relationship.
Like where you stand, even if
Yeah.
it's nothing yet, even if it's
Yes.
not anything more than we went on 2 dates.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. And I think that's where, communication is key. And I think it goes back to what we were saying is, speaking your mind, trusting your instincts and speaking that out loud. And if it scares the person away, then it's not the right person. But if like
Yeah.
Catherine with you and Brian, it obviously created a dialogue that felt comfortable, and then you were able to keep building on that.
Well, and it's also because I went into it with an open heart and with confidence. And I think like lacking some of those ingredients would make for a really weird conversation that would maybe kind of give someone the ick. But like, you know, being kind throughout it was obviously key.
Yeah. Yes.
And I think I had a really important mindset shift of like that when you are not being honest with the other person about how you're feeling or where you're at, like because you want them to like you, that's still dishonest and like disrespectful to them. Like I would never, when you go make it the other direction, it feels totally obvious. I would never pretend to be more into a woman I wasn't that into so that she would have sex with me. I would be like, that's disgusting, obviously wrong behavior. But when you flip it and you're like, I've totally pretended the other direction, hidden how much I like a person because I wanted to seem cool and wanted her to like me. And like
Yes.
that's honestly it's the same level of dishonesty. It's just in the other direction. And
Right,
for me, like
right.
sort of flipping that, I was like, oh, of course, like these actually aren't as different as they seem on the surface.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's actually a really interesting, like flip in that. I love that because I think people don't think of that at all as being dishonest, when you're trying to play it cool. And I see that from both, men and women alike.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean you have to, you know, you can still be filtered and measured in how you communicate with the other person so as to not, totally let all your freak out on day three. But there's a way to do that and still be overall honest.
Right, right. Yeah. Okay, wow. We just solved a lot of dating problems.
No, I just wrote that one down. Alyssa, you have to write a newsletter about that.
I know, right? I know it's a good one. It is. It's so true. Yeah, okay. And actually that leads me to so the question I want to ask both of you from coaching now so many clients, style my profile clients too. What do you feel like has been the most helpful piece of advice that you give clients where you can see like a noticeable like, oh yeah, like a light bulb moment kind of thing for clients?
Max,
Max.
I'm sure you have a lot of bio thoughts about that. So I can give one about photos that I talk about a lot, which is like I think everyone feels this pressure to look like so beautiful or hot or attractive in every single photo. And a big sort of aha moment for a lot of my clients is when they realize, you know what, we act like if you have two or three photos of you like really looking, your best, like very beautiful, not anything crazy, but you on like your best day, then we get what you look like. And we don't need to just see that repeated 6 times. That's so boring. It's not giving any new information. Like the person who's evaluating your profile is already like, yep, they're attractive. Okay, I guess they're attractive again here. Like it's not, it doesn't help you. So adding in more personality photos and things that can start a conversation with people is what
Yeah.
you should be doing with the remainder of your photos. Like absolutely the first one needs to be the money shot, just shoulders up, smiling, like so approachable, I want to get a drink with this person kind of photo. And then the second one should also show again, like, yes, here is what I look like, and I'm attractive and whatever. And then from there, you have a lot of room to play of like, show your weird side, show you doing something really freaking cool, like, show you laughing really, really hard. Like, just let us in about what the things are that light you up and get rid of just like the posed, I'm at a wedding and someone took a picture of me stuff.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, I think my advice is like it's basically the same thing but applied to the text, which is just like it's not really what you say, it's how you come across. There's like the content of your bio and there's like the form or the meta message. And in just the same way that like you might look really great in all five photos, but if all five photos are these, posed, incredibly beautiful photos, that in itself is sending a message totally separate from what you look like. And I feel like the bios are the same way. Like the specifics of what you say matters a lot less than how you say it.
Yeah. Yeah. Both of those are so good. You guys are so good.
Can you talk actually
I think
a
that
little bit more about the like how you say it piece? Because I think that that's not always intuitive to people. And you're so good at getting things in people's voices.
oh god, this is the hardest part of this to put into words, which is ironic since I know putting things into words is my job. I'll zoom out on a piece of general writing advice that I give a lot in the broader context of the work I do, not just for dating, which is that I think a lot of times people shift into just like a weird mode when they get in front of a blank page or a blank computer screen or what have you. And so many times when I read something that someone has written and I don't think it's very good, forget about in the context of a bio, any context. My next step is I say, tell me what you were trying to say here. And then they tell me. And then I say, okay, just write what you just said to me down. And that's way better than what you had on this page,
Yeah.
right? It's
Yeah.
just about like, you forget that you're writing anything. And this is a little bit harder in the world of a bio because you have such a short length limit. So you eventually do have to, be really precise with your words. But I think to start, it's like, forget about writing anything and just like, I don't know, you have a weird travel story, just tell the story the way you would tell a friend and don't even think about trying to write your bio. And odds are that is going to be way better than whatever you're going to come up with if you sit down and you're like, I have to write my answer now.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great advice. Really great. Yeah, because even if you just write it down how you would tell your best friend, you can tweak it from there. Because I think that would
Exactly.
scary to a lot of people like, oh my God, I'm not going to write like that. But I think, writing it down like that in a more fun way, it's so much more descriptive, first of all, it's going to be automatically. And then you can, edit it from there.
And just letting your voice come across. And I mean, maybe to make that a little bit more real for people. So like to give our listeners some behind the scenes, before I write anyone's bio, they fill out a questionnaire and then I do like a 30-minute face-to-face interview / conversation with them. I very often write down an exact turn of phrase that someone uses in the interview and put that directly in the bio. I don't think I have ever once copied the words someone wrote in the questionnaire and put them in the bio. And that's just like evidence of what I just said.
Yeah. 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 Well, because most people write in those questionnaires, I've seen hundreds of them myself, and it's like, I'm loyal, kind, and funny. It's like you see the same descriptives over and over again, and getting to people to elaborate on that. Yeah.
One piece of advice I'll give, this is maybe going to be the only like super practical, actionable tip on this podcast, because I feel like as with so much of this, it's like people kind of already know what to do. They just need the reassurance to do it. Or you're like, okay, that all sounds, I mean, even for me, it's like, I could have heard this podcast when I was 28 and it still would have taken, several years of fucking up and heartbreak to like implement the advice. Here's a tip you can actually implement right after this podcast, which is assuming you are dating people of the opposite gender, find a friend the opposite gender as you who's also online dating. And so like if you go on their app, you can see profiles of the people who are the same gender as you, and just like you have to, hopefully they'll let you swipe through a lot and just look at like 40 profiles of people who are the same gender as you, and you will instantly understand like what are the cliches, what are the dumb things everyone says, what are the things that it might sound appealing or funny when you think of it once, but now that you've seen it 10 times in a row, it's really awful. And you'll like instantly get better at writing your own bio.
That is such good advice, actually, because it's true. I think that a lot of people think, oh, this sounds so funny, and they don't realize that hundreds of people have said that exact thing. I can't even think of an example, but the three of us have seen a ton of them.
Yeah, I mean, I think a big one for me is like, it can often seem funny to be a little bit flippant or to like lightly mock the prompt in your response. But once you realize that not only that tons of other people are doing that, but that often the people who are doing that are so clearly like the worst, most embittered people who you do not want to be like, you very quickly realize that it doesn't play. Whereas like if you were on like a at like a dating event and they gave you conversation prompts, I think it would totally work to mock the prompt like IRL to your partner when there's like body language and all kinds of other stuff, but it just doesn't play online, and that might not be obvious unless you've seen a lot of people do it and you see how it comes across.
Yeah, that's a great point, actually. Yeah, in real life, that might be really funny in the moment, but when you see it so many times, I wish I could think of one. I keep thinking fluent in sarcasm, which is of course like ages old now, but like those ones that I'm sure to the person writing it, the first few times people wrote that, they thought they were being hilarious, but it's like, yeah. And then wait, Catherine, back to to the photos. I think that was really great advice, and I think it's something that a lot of people don't realize. I think they think, oh, I have to be, because I tell people you shouldn't have sunglasses and too many shots. And, of course, people really need to see you. And I think people get kind of fixated, oh, you need to see me in every shot. But if you have one or two shots that, like I'm thinking of this client the other day, she had this amazing shot of her water skiing. You couldn't see her face at all, but it was an amazing shot of her, like, whatever, big splash of water. It was just a really amazing shot. And it's like, having these kind of vibe shots, where it's gives people a vibe of you, or, like you're at a party and maybe you're dancing, but you can barely see you, that type of thing. It's just, yeah, a vibe shot.
And I'll go one step further and say, like, when I see someone whose profile is all like really put together shots, I'm not only like, oh, I get it. I'm actually like, what are they hiding? I'm like, oh, is this someone who only looks even remotely acceptable when they're really put together? And the reason that they're not showing just like a regular picture of them with their friends is because like they actually look terrible in that situation, which almost always probably isn't the case. But I think it's a reaction a lot of people have.
Yeah. No, and I think when we do our photo shoots, we only do 3 shots, and people often ask, like, wait, why can't we do all 6? All 6 photos for the app, and I tell people, like, it's okay to have professional photos, but you shouldn't have all professional photos, because then it's just too perfect, and it's also doesn't really give a strong vibe of who you are, and like, doing an activity, being with your friends, being out in the wild. And, and then having the 3 more, posed shots is fine, but they should really be mixed with real life candids. Yeah. All right. Wow. Well, this was some really good advice, guys. I feel very lucky that you guys are on my team and working with people. And seriously, for those of you listening who have not worked with any of us one-on-one, it really is a great experience.
There's so much more. We can tailor it directly to you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we've saved all the really good advice for that. So that's like, these are just the B minus tips.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, having Max just straight up write your bio for you in your exact voice is like kind of invaluable.
I know. And actually, and people always say that, by the way, Max, I don't know how many times I've told you this, but everybody is like, oh my God, Max was so great. Everybody loves what you write. It's, truly. I mean,
well,
really.
I'm very flattered. So thank you.
Yeah. And it's not just, but the thing is, it's not just because, I mean, yeah, sure, you're focusing mainly on their bio and their prompts, but you also give little tips and tidbits of advice to people I know, because people have told me, like, oh, well, Max mentioned I should da 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 da, and it's like, it's just great. Yeah.
I mean, I might have even already said this on this podcast, but I just think, I was taking notes before this about what advice resonates the most with clients. I was like, you know what? People need reassurance more than they need advice. I cannot tell you how many times someone in our conversation has said, I don't think I want to put this in my profile, but insert the most interesting thing about them that would be amazing to put in their profile. And it's like, why don't you want to put that in your profile? And, occasionally there is a valid reason. Once someone was like, it's so Googleable that someone will instantly be able to find my full name if they want. So I was like, okay, that's reasonable. But most of the time it's like, they're just worried about how it will come across. And I'm like, actually, this is like the best and most interesting thing you could put in.
Totally. 100%. I love that.
And with photos too, like, this team will tell you what's a good photo and what's not a good photo. Like, we're not afraid, we're not going to hurt your feelings, but like, we're not afraid to say, it's actually like not lit well, it's not like putting your best foot forward, which means that then when we do tell you, you look so hot in this, like everyone's going to love this photo. That's really real. And watching people like fall into the like comfort and confidence of hearing somebody say that to them and like having them really mean it. Oh my God, that's what people need.
Case in point, I told Katherine her Zoom angle was unflattering at the start of this call, and she's not even paying me.
That's exactly what I needed. I just needed to hear that.
Yeah. See, we're brutally honest. No, no, this is great, you guys. Thank you so much. This is so fun. And it's always so nice to see your face. I see Katherine all the time, but it's nice to see your face, Max.
Always a pleasure.
We need to do this more often. Seriously.
Definitely.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
There's more to tap into here. So
yeah,
I know.
we can do a follow up on what Katherine and I have learned from a very small amount of marriage.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Marriage lessons from people who've been married for 12 to 18 months.
3 months.
Yeah.
3 weeks.
Great. I love it. All right. Well, thanks, you guys. We'll talk soon. Thank you so much for being here.
Yay.
Talk soon.
Bye, guys.
Thanks for joining me on the Dating Lab. I hope you found what you heard helpful, and if you did, please like and comment below, and even better, subscribe, and hope to see you here next time.